Hey, what's up? My name is Joe. So basically, I'm going to talk about the package that I created, which is called React Native SmarterList, and the reason why I created it, and how to use it, and why I think it works for me. So normally, when you're using React, right, you have a flat list and you have a section list. These are like the main two lists that I use. Um, and when you're using it, you'll have to write like a section list, and you can give it, the sections, which is like the data you're going to pass down. The data has to be in a certain format, and here has to be an array of objects with the title and the data property. um, and that's how it creates your sections. And then you have your render item, and you have a bunch of other properties. And the good thing is that makes this React Native Smarter List easy to accomplish this goal is a lot of these properties are the same in both lists. So the section list and the flat list have a lot of the same properties. And basically the smarter list just actually just takes whatever properties you pass in and just pass it down. Just that's the whole thing about React. Just you know, take data, pass it down, pass it down, pass the props down, just keep passing it down. So that's the whole way of how this functions, right? So like if you look at me, but basically this is on npm. It's React Native Smarter List, and also the code is under my name, Joe D Benjamin, and it will be under React Native Smarter List. I think I only have like three public um, things on there, but I'm actually going to make a lot more public. I'm working on that now because I have a lot of code I just want to put out. And another good thing I just want to mention is I've learned a lot from watching other people, like a whole lot. I did go to college. I did get a degree, engineering degree, well, computer science degree, and I have been working in development for a while with different jobs, and but I still go on YouTube and just watch a lot of different people, and I've learned a lot. And I also like have a Pluralsight subscription, and I just love coding, so I'm always trying to find different ways to do different things, and always trying to push myself to like be better. So basically, that was just like I just wanted to add that in. So what it does is it takes in whatever properties you want. So these properties will be like what you will pass down in a flat list, or what you will pass down into a section list when you're using it. So of course, render section header will only work if it was an actual section list. So basically, whatever you pass down, if if it can't use it, it won't. So you pass down whatever you want to pass down, whatever is allowed. I mean, whatever it can use in those different lists. And if it's not there, then it won't get mapped to it. And you also have your, so like once you create this is almost like you're saying, okay, so this is the list I want to create, and I want to use the same list throughout my entire app. So throughout my entire app, I want all of my separators to be the same in my list. I want all of my lists to have the same empty component. So if I don't have anything in my list, whenever I'm showing my different lists on different screens, I want them all to have the same component that says when it's empty. So it's good. Like you have like so many things like be reused. I want all of my sections to have the same section header, and I want all of my sections to have the same footer, and it's just so many different properties that you can just pass in here, and everything will always be the same. And then once you do that, what gets returned is a component, and then that component you want to pass down an item component, which is basically just an item of how you want your datum to look. So it'll be like the item you see in the list, and then you pass down the data, or you pass down the sections. Now the way the React Native Smarter List works is when you get to this step, if you pass in data, it would assume that you want to use a flat list. So it would do that for you. If you pass in sections, it would assume that you want to use a section list, and it would do that for you. But keep in mind, you have to pass in the correct format of data. So, for instance, for a flat list, it's just an array of objects, whatever you need for your items. For a section list, the data is different. It has to be an array of objects, but you have to have a title and a data property in each of those objects. So you just need to make sure that you pass in the data the correct way. But if you're using a section list, you will still have to pass in the data the correct way. So it's really no different. It's just that here you're able to reuse the list throughout your, excuse me, I just had a burp. You're able to use the list throughout your whole app, right? And then also with that, when you're using the SmarterList, if it doesn't have data, or if it doesn't have data and it doesn't have sections, then it just will return null. So your list will just not be anything. Or if you do have a list empty component, which can be used in both a flat list and a section list, if you do have a list empty component, then it will use that to know, okay, well, I'm going to be using the list empty component. So it'll display that. And another thing it does, if by some chance you do pass in data and you do pass in sections, but they're both empty, it's still going to consider that. So it considers null and empty as the same thing. So if it's null or if it's empty, it's considered that it's not there. So it treats it the same way, right? So, but if you do have some data or sections, or if you have both, and it will take sections as top priority. So if you pass in this property and sections actually exist, meaning you have data for it, then it's going to assume you're doing a section list. But if not, and you have some data, like if you actually pass this down and there's some actual items there, like in that array, then it will use the flat list. So you have your section list, you have your flat list. So now let's get to the code, right? That's what everybody wants to see. So I kind of created just like some really like small example just to kind of show what it does. And just to point out, I use Vim just in case anybody is wondering. So a lot of things you won't really see me type. As you can see, there is no mouse on the screen, but it is now, but it's going to disappear. I'm also using a Linux system, and I recently got this set up by watching a bunch of tutorials to kind of look like this, and it does a lot of little tricks and stuff. But if you're looking at the screen and probably like, I've never seen a screen that look like that, then it's because like I'm using Linux. And if you're looking at this and be like, hey, this looks like something that Luke Smith did, then you're probably right, because I watch a lot of his videos and that helped me set this up a lot. Okay, so all right, so initially right now, this is my entry point to this app. So I have my people and I have my companies. And currently I'm not using the companies. And I have my people here, right? So currently, if I go here, oh, by the way, I say like and basically and probably currently. I say a lot of words a lot. I don't know why. Like, I really don't know why. But you're probably going to have hear like a million times. Oops. But, so people, and also, this kind of going to represent the file that I'm in, because I'm going to be just jumping around. But basically the main files, I know I'm jumping around now, but the main files is like app.tsx, and then there's the list, there's the people, and there's the companies, which are the different lists. So right now I'm in people, which is the file that is showing here, right? And the people, and that's in app.tsx. App.tsx. Can't even talk right now. What is going on? So yeah. So currently I have an empty component. Not empty component, but I have the data. I have just an empty array. So that's why it's saying empty component. And if you look here, this list is what's using the SmarterList. This is what's coming from the package that is on the NPM that I created. I'm saying I want the item separator component to be this, the render section header to be this, the window size to be this, the list empty component to be this, I put sticky section headers enabled, which is only really work for sections. I'm actually coming it out right now because I want to point out something later. And oh yeah, and if you want to see like the list empty component, it's just an empty component. It just says empty component, which is what you see on the screen here. Bam, right? So now that I did that, so we're gonna go back to the people. And we have some data here, right? So I use Faker, which as you can see here, import Faker. It's a very good NPM package. It's pretty popular. I use it a lot to just fake data, right? And so right now I have this data. It's just pretty much taking or building an array and filling it up of 20 elements and filling it up with the number 1 and then mapping it through each of those 20 elements and then just spitting out this. So I have an ID, key, first name, last name, age. And if I pass in the data here, so let's say for instance I take this empty array out. Now you see I have the data, right? So this is just the data that's showing here. And all I'm doing is doing this list, my item component, and the data. So let's say for instance I have another component and it's called companies, I think. Companies, yeah. So in here, well actually I need to change this. So instead of using people, now I'm using companies. So think of this as like different lists in your app, right? Right here I'm just showing it all on the same page because I don't have anything separated out into screens because that's not really needed to kind of show what's going on with the SmarterList. So right now we're saying we have companies. So the companies currently has an empty array, kind of like how the people had when I first started it. And if you look from here, oops. If you look here, the data, it's going to be this. So I have like ID, name, slogan, founder first name, founder last name, age. So let's just go ahead and just should be, oops. I'm going to fill that data up. Oh man, that's some. Why did I pick those colors? That purple sucks. Wait, what did I do here? 1 second. I just want to see something. Yeah, it's still red. So I just got to pick yellow here. So, but yeah, the purple, the yellow and red is weird, but it's just like just for display only. But the purple and red, it just like threw me off. But whatever. But yeah, it should be red because the separating component is the same. So you have your companies, right? Um, so now we have the data. So now pretty much the whole point is like they're reusing a lot of stuff. So with that being said, let's say for instance, I want my separator to be blue, and let's say I want to give it a height of 5, right? Probably gonna be not cute. Um, and let's just say I wanted to take the full screen. All right, and let's just say I wanted to give it an 8. Just make it a little bigger. Not really cute, but I just want to show. So now I have the item separator component to be this blue. So now if I go back and I say, okay, app.tsx, and I say I want to use people now. I'm using people, as you can see, the item has its own, like the item is always going to show whatever you pass in for the item, but now the separated component is the same as it would be for the companies. So the companies and the people are just, it's being reused. And now let's say, for instance, I have people, but let's say that I want to do sections. Now, to do sections, the data for this cannot be this, right? Because for sections, you need to have something like disk. You need to have data. You need to have an array, title and data for your objects. So this wouldn't work. So let me just create some stuff on the fly real quick. Probably not going to be the best code, but you get the point. Just give me a second. I'll just kind of talk through what I'm doing. So right now I'm just going to say I'm going to give it a title. I'm going to call this section 1, right? And then the data, for now we're just going to say empty array. We're going to create 2 of those. And then here we're going to call this section 2 and do the same for this. TypeScript is complaining, so I'll just do this real quick. Okay, so we got that, and let's say the data that we have now, we're only doing, it's only 20 elements there, right? So we're just gonna say data dot for each. We're gonna go through, we're gonna have an item. Just do this, and we're gonna say for each one, we're gonna say if the index is greater than 10, then we're gonna say section 1 dot data dot push item, else section 2 dot data dot push item, maybe close that. So now we have section 1 filled up in section 2. We'll just call this sections, and we'll just put it an array, and then put section 1, section 2. For the flat list, let's say we're just going to go ahead and call sections. Oops. Okay. So now, even though this is a section list, you have your sections separated out, but it's still using that same main list. So it still has those same properties. So it still has that same look, right? So, and now let's say you went into your list and you want to say sticky headers enabled, right? So now sticky headers enabled. So now you can have this set up like one time, and all of your lists and your app will be able to reuse it, right? So I mean, this is kind of just explaining the basis of it. But this can go like way deeper. You can create a bunch of stuff. You can even think about like maybe creating themes and have different ones do different things. And for me, it just made it like it just worked for me because I like reusing code. And for me, it's just like, okay, I can write this one thing and I can just reuse it throughout my app, right? I don't have to worry about it again. Like, I'm good. I just pass in my list, pass in my item, and then pass in my sections or my data. And then now let's just show you, let's just say, okay, so I'm passing in sections, right? But sections is empty. And it knows, so it's saying, hey, empty component. And as you can see, the empty component, if I say I am a shared, it gets updated. But now let's go back to TSX, right? Because right now we're using people, which is the sections, but I just cleared it out, so now I made it empty. But we're still using that same initial setup. So if I do this, go back to companies, companies, this is just a regular flat list right here. Like if we go to companies, as you can see, it's using data. It's using data, so it's a regular flat list. But if I go ahead and just say, you know what, I don't have any data, it's empty. It's still going to use the I am a share empty component. I am a share empty component. So like section lists and flat lists, like they're using all of the same stuff. And for me, when I use it, I don't have to worry about is this going to be a section list when I like am I creating this for a section list? Am I creating this for a flat list? Like I just set everything up one time. I know how I want it, and whenever I need to make changes, all of the code is in the same. It's like I'm just updating one code for me, for my case. Now you may have cases where you have multiple themes or however you want to set it up, but for me, I just create it once, and the only thing I need to worry about is the item that I pass in to for the display. And if I want it, like when I'm building this, like I'll make sure that whatever I'm setting up will like the color scheme will blend. Like it wouldn't be like these colors where like my item component that I'll create, like the background color and stuff like that, will be similar for both when I'm using a section or anything in my app. Or maybe I even like maybe create something where I have a maybe I should do something like that where I also have you create like a partial item component where it can set like some of the CSS properties. But yeah, maybe I might work on that. But basically, the whole point is that you can reuse a lot of stuff. Okay. And just before I go, I mean, if as far as knowing how to use it, if you want to just cut this off now, like you're pretty much good. What I'm going to talk about, just because some people may want to know, I'm just going to go through the actual React Native SmarterList code that I showed. That's like really short and just explain how it works. I don't know. Some people may want to know, and also if you see it and want to fix like maybe you can make it better or maybe there's some fixes. I don't know. So far everything seems to work, but there could be some bugs I don't know about. Um, yeah, let me know. Send me the PR, and we can go from there. Um, so the React Native Smarter List, actually, mm, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna do. Let me just do it from here. Um, what is this on GitHub? Yeah. So I don't have that many public repositories, although I am um, going to start pretty much making all of my stuff public. Not every single thing I've done, but I'm going to make most of the stuff I do public because I've learned a lot from the open source community, and I kind of feel like I just want to give back, like with YouTube and being able to see other people's code and just learning from different things. And I don't know, I figure why not? Hey, people share, why can't I share? Um, of the code, like I have like some TypeScript stuff in here which I actually need to go back in and fix because initially I created it to do one thing and then I end up changing how I was doing it. So the TypeScript stuff I did is not, I don't think it's fully right because it's not really giving you the typings. But I'm gonna go and fix that hopefully soon. Hopefully I have some time. But the functionality is there and it's it works. At least as far as I know, it works. So when you're creating this, right? No. When you're creating this, so once you get to this point, this list, smarter list, and you're passing in this stuff, this is this part. Well, actually, this is this part. Because what I'm doing is you're calling a function which is smarter list, but it returns a function, which actually this is just returning your list, that list component, which is this. right? So once you get to here, when you pass in the next set of properties, these, then it's going to return a smarter list, which is this main part up here. And what it's going to do is say, okay, so I'm going to default data to an empty array. I'm going to default sections to an empty array. I'm going to look for an item component, which is this. This is the item, or however you want things to display. And I'm going to also look for a list empty component, which is still optional, but I'm going to look for it anyway, right? It's just coming from props. I'm not going to really go into like the TypeScript specific part. I'm just going to just tell you how the code works. So I'm going to skip this part for now. So basically it's saying that if I don't have any data, right? Because I think this is called like the bang bang. So pretty much it turns values into true or false. So data.length will be 0 if they don't have anything, right? Because I said it's defaulting to an empty array. So data.length will be 0 if they don't have anything. And when you do a bang bang on 0, which maybe, well, I'm not going to show it. When you do a bang bang on 0, then it's going to return true. And I'm sorry, it's going to return false. So when I say that, meaning that if it doesn't have any data and it doesn't have any sections, then I know that there's nothing for the data or section, so it should return null. But what I do first is also check if you have a list empty component that you passed in, which is coming from here. Well, not here, but sorry. Which in this case will be like here, list empty component. And I guess if you want to look at it here, it will be like, here or whatever. So if you have a list empty component, then it will return that. Else it will return null. So basically that's saying that if I don't have data and I don't have sections, then I mean I don't have anything. But if I have a list empty component, then I'll return that. If not, I'll just return null. If it gets past that, that means that you have something in data or you have something in sections. This doesn't mean that your data and your sections are formatted, like the data is set up, like the data is set up correctly, because that's up to how you pass it in. But it will say that, okay, well, if I got to here, then I must have sections or data. So here it's just saying if I have sections, then return the section list. If not, return a flat list. So as you see, the section list, it just takes the sections because at this point you will have something. And then the render item is just this item. And then the props, which is all the props that were passed down, just gets passed down to sections or flat list. So whatever prop you pass down just gets sent down to the section list or the flat list. So this item is this part right here, right? So basically what this does is it just returns your item component, which is the item component that you pass in, basically saying this is how I want my item to look, right? That's what we talked about before. And then when you pass that in, it will look at the item. Because, if you use flat list or section list before, render item just basically goes through and pass each of the records in your data to that component. So that's what's going to happen here. Each time, each index or each element in that array will go through this item component. So then that's basically the code. So when you do that, it allows you to just like reuse a bunch of stuff. And at this point, I kind of sound like I'm just rambling because I kind of just I feel like I've explained it. But there will be more to come. This is my first time doing a YouTube video, so I'm trying to get more into this. So this one's probably a little rough, probably more than likely. But yeah, I'm gonna start sharing more stuff. I'm gonna start doing more tutorials. I'll be probably talking about like Vim because I love doing Vim stuff. I'll talk about like some React stuff, React Native. Talk about TypeScript. I even talk about like just setups in general about Linux and Bash and um, database like SQL. I'll end up talking about stuff like that. Just a bunch of different topics I want to just start going over. And everything I do, I'm just going to put this code online and just make it public. And you're welcome to do whatever you want with it. Um, Help me update it or take it and start updating it yourself or don't use it. It's up to you. But I'm just gonna go ahead and end this right now and hope that somebody learned something. Right? Hope I didn't just do this for nothing. Hopefully I was able to explain it well. But until next time, I'm out. Again, my name is Joe, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Well, I won't see you, but you'll probably hear me soon. All right? Peace.